Good morning, fifth grade. Today is our lesson on volume of prisms. We're going to be continuing what we've been doing for the past couple of days, so we're just going to continue to build. Today is lesson 11.9, and let's just jump right in. So what you need to remember, what you've been learning for the past week, we always work with volume, and when we're working with volume, we are always going to be doing length times width times height. Okay, the broken down version of length times width times height you can see here as volume V equals L times W times height. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to think to yourself, what is the length of this figure that you see here? If you guessed 8, you are correct. What is the width of this figure that you see here? 6 is correct. And what is the height of this figure you see here? 4 is correct. So when we're setting it up in our equation of volume equals length times width times height, we need to set it up in that very similar way of 8, which is the length, 6, which is the width, times 4, which is the height. And if we ended up solving that out, we would first need to do 8 times 6 equals 48. And then that is called the base area because it's the bottom of that rectangle. So the base area is 48. And then we're going to multiply it by our height, which is 4. And that comes out to being 192 inches cubed, because again we're working with a cube, so it needs to be cubed for the exponent there. Moving on to our next slide. Another way to solve these is doing volume equals base area times height, like I just said. And how you set that up is volume equals base times height, B being the base area of the shape and H being the height of the solid figure. So they set it up here for you. So the B in this situation is going to be 6 times 5 because that is your base area. So how you would set this up is volume equals 6 times 5. Then we would multiply it by 9. Because that is our height over here. So 30 times 9 is 270. And then again, it would be inches cubed because we're working with the cube, and it needs to be a 3 for our exponent for our label. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. It's still going to be volume equals length times width times height, but we're looking for an unknown number that's in this problem, okay? So we have to fill in the information that we are given. We're given the length, we're given the width, we are not given the height in this situation. However, we are given our final answer, which is our volume. So how they did this is they typed in our volume, which is 24, and then they typed in our other two numbers that we already know, which are 4 for the length and 3 for the width. So we can multiply 4 times 3 together to get our base area of 12. And then what I know, I have to figure out what multiplied by 12 gives me 24. And I know in my head that 2 multiplied by 12 is going to give me 24. So fifth grade, 2 is my unknown height here. So if I erase that, 2 is our unknown height. And please note that the label is centimeters squared because we are working with a cube. Another way that you could solve that, if you didn't know what this unknown number was here for 2, you could easily just go here and take 24 divided by 12 to get that unknown number, and your answer is 2. Okay, moving on to our next slide. Here's just an easy one. So for this one, I want us to do the base area times height, and then we're going to do the length times width times height. So 2 different ways, okay? So the base area is so we're going to rewrite our equation. Volume equals 3 times 5 multiplied by our height of 6. So we know that 3 times 5 is 15. then we have to multiply it by 6. 15 times 6 equals 90. Okay, so our area is going to be 90 feet cubed because we are working with a cube. Now, if we just did it 3 times 5 times 6, we would get the same exact answer, just in a different way. Okay, moving on to our next slide. This one is going to be a word problem. It's a little bit trickier than the rest of the problems, so I wanted to go over it before you get it on your homework today. Eddie measured his aquarium using a small fish food box. The box has a base area of 6 square inches and a height of 4 inches. So they just gave us all the information we need to find the volume of the fish food box, because they gave us the base area of 6 multiplied by the height of 4. So the volume of the fish food box is 24 inches cubed, okay? And then it says Eddie has already found the volume of his aquarium. His aquarium is 3,456 cubic inches. So now they're asking how many fish food boxes can you fit into the aquarium? Enter your answer and complete the explanation. So what we would need to do in this situation is we are going to have to divide this big number by 24. Oops. Because that's our final answer, and we're trying to figure out how many of the 24 boxes can fit into that aquarium. So I'm just going to do quick math here because I am limited time on this source that I'm using. So I'm going to take 3,456 divided by 24, and I get 144 fish boxes being able to fit into that tank, and that is the correct answer. Now they're showing the formula base area times height can be used to find the volume of the fish food box in cubic inches. So we already did that, all of that information that we needed, because we had to have it to find that first one. So the box is 24 cubic inches. Now it says the number of boxes can be found by, your two options are going to be dividing or multiplying, and we know that we just divided. Okay, moving on to our next question. This one says, the Pearl restaurant put a rectangular prism-shaped aquarium in its lobby. The base of the aquarium is 6 feet by 4 feet. The height is 5 feet. So we can find the volume of this aquarium, 6 by 4 by 5. So that's going to be 24 times 5, giving us 120 cubic feet, okay? So that's the Pearl restaurant, okay? Note that that is the Pearl restaurant that we just found. They also give us Jade's aquarium, which can hold only 40 cubic feet. So now it asks what's the difference between the two. So then you would have to do 120 minus 40, which is going to give you a difference of 80 cubic feet. Let's see if that is the correct answer, and it is in fact correct. All right, let's just do this simple one. I would like us to solve it in volume equals length times width times height for this one. Just going back to the basics, you can do either way, 5th grade, because you're going to get the same answer either way. So we're going to do 5 times 8 times 9. So we get, I know that 5 times 8 equals 40 times 9, which is going to give me 360 feet cubed for my label because I'm working with a cube. Okay, moving on to this next word problem. This one was a little bit tricky for myself. It took me a little while to get the hang of it. So Cheryl has a box that is in the shape of a rectangular prism, so what we've been working with, okay? Its height is twice the length. Its height is twice the length. Its length is 3 times the width, and the width measures 7 inches. So the only information that we know is the width, which is 7 inches. So I need to work backwards from this problem. The width measures 7 inches, then the length, 5th grade, is 3 times that. the length here is going to be 3 times 7 inches. And I know that 7 times 3 is just 21. So then I have to work even further backwards. The length, its height is twice the length. So now I'm doing height. Its height is 2 times the length. So I just solved the length, which is 21. So if I double that, that's going to be the height. So my height is going to be 42 inches. So now that we have all of our information, we can do length times width times height. So we can do 21 length times 7 width times 42 height. And I'm going to do that real quick just because I don't have a lot of time. 21 times 7 times 42, that gives us 6,174 inches cubed. Let's see if that is correct. And that is in fact correct. All right, moving on to our last slide here. This is another one of those unknown problems, so we need to put in the information that we already know. Okay, so we are not given the volume for this one. The only thing that we are given is the base area. So we do volume equals base area. Actually, I made a mistake here. I think that I forgot to copy the volume down, because there's no way that we could actually solve this without having the volume, because we need at least those 2 pieces of information. So I'm just going to cancel this one because I did make that mistake, and I do apologize for that. So that's where we're just going to end for this tutorial. I hope that this helps a little bit with today's lesson. Get a paper and a pencil, jot down some notes. You can always go back before you get started on your homework for today. And I will see you all tomorrow for our last lesson of the week.